Hey, everybody, welcome back to day 13 of the 31 days of favor. We are unpacking the Proverbs and we are unraveling truth from the Word of God. And I know you're being blessed tremendously by this. I am. And we are almost halfway into this journey. And there's so much jewels, so much more to unpack and unwind from this. Today, I'm going to be looking at one specific verse in Proverbs 13. I had some difficulties selecting which verse I wanted to dive into because there was so much food to chew within this. But Proverbs 13:23 is the verse that I'm going to spend the rest of the day speaking about with you today. And I want us to look at this together. So Proverbs chapter 13, verse 23 declares, "The uncultivated field of the poor yields abundant food, but without justice, it is swept away." Another translation says, "Much food is in the fallow ground of the poor, and for lack of justice, there is waste." So what jumped out at me immediately when I read this verse was when the Bible says that there is much food where the poor is, or there is food, or in the uncultivated field of the poor, there is an abundance. Now, when we talk about poor, we're speaking about poverty. One thing that you don't usually attribute to poverty is abundance. It's either you have abundance or you're impoverished. But Solomon actually said something here that in the uncultivated field of the poor, there is abundance. What does that mean? That means that there is food in the ground where the poor is, but it seems like they can't find it. You know, one of the things that revelation that God gave me a few years ago is I live in Brooklyn. And in Brooklyn, you can drive through many different neighborhoods where you can drive through a neighborhood where you might see people living in private homes. And then just a block away, you'll find, what we call the projects, or buildings that are housing, affordable housing, or housing that's provided for low-income residents. And, as you drive through the neighborhoods, you will begin to recognize that some places are treated differently, or some areas seem to have more abundance or more money or more affluence than another neighborhood. And right here in the heart of Brooklyn, we are seeing something going on in our community called gentrification. It's basically a process where typical neighborhoods that used to once be a place where there was a lot of crime, or places that were run down or drug infested, swarmed with gang violence. You're seeing these same places being fixed up, being repaired and renovated, and people are moving into those very same neighborhoods, and they're turning those neighborhoods into $1 million neighborhoods. I mean, the block that I live on right now is $1 million neighborhood. Just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people didn't want to move on to into this neighborhood. But what's the difference? How is it that the same neighborhood 10 years ago where people didn't want to live is now highly sought after, and people are moving from different parts of the country to come and live in the same place? And then the people that used to live here are leaving or moving away, or have moved away, because they thought that there wasn't much value here. And to me, when I read this verse, Proverbs 13:23, I think about gentrification, because it seemed like the difference between 10 years ago and now is the same neighborhood, but what's the difference? I believe the difference is that someone else had a vision for this same neighborhood. They had a vision and they saw the potential in this neighborhood. And so while those who were living here 10 years ago maybe didn't cultivate the field that they lived in, someone else saw something better for the neighborhood and chose to come in and make a change. And I look at that as something that Proverbs is relating to. You see, there's another passage of scripture that says that without a vision, people perish. And so the first sign of poverty is not the lack of money. The first sign of poverty is the lack of vision. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Because here, if in the uncultivated field of the poor, it yields an abundance of food, then that means that there is opportunity, there is favor, there is resources right in the very land, right in the very fields where the poor live. But the lack of vision prevents a person from being able to see the possibilities that's right around them. This is a game-changing thought. What is in your own backyard that you are looking over? What possibilities or opportunities are sitting right next to you that you can't see? And so I believe that along with wisdom comes the vision to be able to see potential. You see, oftentimes I've had to learn that everything in life begins as potential. But if you don't see the potential, you won't see the abundance. God never really gives you a finished product. He gives you, or he doesn't give you a glorious ending, but he gives you a humble beginning. And it is your job to be able to cultivate what God has given you to make it something beautiful, something glorious. You see? So potential, what is potential? The word potential simply means that which exists in possibility. It is dormant ability. It is dormant, meaning that it already is there, but it's lying there asleep. It's below its full strength, or it's being unused or underutilized. Potential is reserved power. It's inactive ability. It's untapped strength. Potential is unused success. And everything God creates begins with potential. So the uncultivated field of the poor is a land full of potential, a land full of opportunities. But again, do you have the vision to tap into what God has already given you? And so, what kills potential? What prevents people from seeing the potential to be able to take something that God has given them and to make it something resourceful, something abundant? What prevents or what kills potential? Number one, I said it already, lack of vision or no vision. No vision. Vision is the ability to see what can be and what should be from what is. What do you see, for example, when you see a seed? Do you see a seed? Someone else might say, well, I see a tree or a plant because I know if I sow the seed, I might get a tree. Somebody else might say, well, when I see that seed, I might see fruit because I know if I plant the seed, I can get fruit from out of it. But you know what I see when I see a seed? I see a forest. I see an abundance of trees that can come out of that one seed. And you see, that one person who just sees only a seed will treat that seed as is. But if someone knows the potential of that seed, then they can see what's more, what's beyond that one seed. And so it all comes back to vision. Pray for vision. Pray for God to give you a perspective that allows you to see more. What if what you need is not going to come from someone coming in to give you something more, but what if you just simply look at what you already have and begin to discover the full potential or the full possibilities of the gifts, the grace that God has for you? Another thing that kills potential is the wrong environment. Being in the wrong environment. A seed must be planted in the right conditions to fulfill its potential. We have to be planted in the right field. We have to be planted in the right soil. We have to be planted in the right occupation or the right environment to fulfill our potential. And so you always want to make sure that you put yourself in environments where what's in you can grow and what's in you can reach maturity. Albert Einstein, I don't know if it's Albert Einstein, I think it is, but there's a quote that says, everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Right? If you take a monkey and you put it in water, you're not going to see the monkey at its full potential. But if you put that monkey in a jungle with trees and branches, then you'll see the genius inside the monkey. And so what you got to realize is that there's genius in every one of us. Just put us in the right environment and you'll discover the potential that's in you. I'm going to give you two more. What else kills potential? Low self-worth. Having a low self-worth. You know, if you don't feel good about yourself, it's hard for you to feel good about anybody else. And what you find is that if you have a critical attitude and a critical people and you're cynical about other people, their successes, then most likely you have a low sense of self-worth. When you're happy and confident with who you are and who God created you to be, you can be genuinely happy for other people too. But it's so important that you recognize that to fulfill your purpose and to live a glorious life, you got to have a high sense of self-worth. You know, if you feel you have nothing of value to offer, you will not offer anything of value. You know, and when you don't feel good about yourself and you have negative emotions and feelings towards yourself, then you'll begin to talk yourself out of opportunities, talk yourself out of blessings, talk yourself out of open doors, because you believe you're not qualified or good enough to be there. And I believe that's one of the reasons why the poor will look over their field. It's uncultivated. It has all the potential in the world, but they're not willing to invest or put in the work into it simply because they just don't believe they are of value. So you want to build your sense of self-worth. And there's a acronym for the word poor that really stuck out to me when I heard it a few years ago. It says the word poor stands for passing over opportunities regularly. How many opportunities do you pass over on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, month-to-month basis that could have been the opportunity that if you've cultivated it, could have yielded you an abundance? Lastly, a commitment to work. What kills potential? A commitment to work. Pay attention to what I said, commitment. Unless you put your hands to work, using the gifts, using the very things that God has already put inside of you or put near you, you will never maximize your potential. The land of the poor is simply potential that's uncultivated. Much food is in the fallow ground of the poor. And so you got to begin to dig up that fallow ground in your life. You have to begin to look at what's around you, begin to seize the opportunities and make it work for you. So stop judging yourself or stop putting your neighborhood down or talking bad about what's in front of you. Make the best of what God has given you. And wisdom says to us today that if we cultivate the field that we are in, we can also yield an abundance. All right, so that's just one verse. And I feel like there was so much in there, so much more that I wanted to share, but I think I'm going to end right there. But once again, remember this. If you're willing to cultivate your field, it will yield an abundance for you. The grass is not always green on the other side, but the grass is green where you work the field. All right, so I want you to comment below, share your thoughts, let me know what has jumped out at you from this verse, or maybe another verse in Proverbs 13. Share your thoughts with me, And I look forward to seeing you in day 14. Peace.